Tennessee Titans fans, the final preseason game just ended moments ago. The Titans defeating the Saints 30-27. That's right, the Titans, in a game that won't count, of course, put up 30 points in a game for the first time since 2021. Are you kidding me? They finished the preseason undefeated. Goodness gracious. The Tennessee Titans now move on, like everybody else, to roster cuts. On Tuesday, they got to get it down to 53, and so for the next 48 hours, a lot of debate is going to rage on among fans regarding who's going to make it, who's going to go to the practice squad, who's going to get cut, all of that good stuff. And let's talk about what we saw today. As expected, the starters played at least 2 possessions. Some of them played even more than that. Offensively, you have to be pleased with what we saw from the starting offense today. I understand it's preseason football. The Saints, I don't believe, had many, if any, starters in on defense. So it's hard to, you don't just want to be like, yes, we're where we need to be. But you have to like what you saw because the Titans did what they should do. If their starting offense is going against the Saints' backups, you should march up and down the field. And that's exactly what they did. I am once again impressed with Tony Pollard. I thought he looked really, really good with the carries that he got today. Obviously had a touchdown as well. The offensive line, the starting offensive line, again, not exactly going against the Saints starters, but I thought the offensive line held up well, and they pretty much played the entire first half. Most of them did. And so that starting offensive line is solidified. Brian Callahan is not shying away from it. We know who that starting O-line is. And now just got to get them ready for week 1, which is going to be a challenge against Chicago. But I thought they held up well really every time they got in this preseason. But especially today, I thought they looked really good. Will Levis, you have to enjoy what you saw from him today, completing the big pass to Tyler Boyd. Had one to Calvin Ridley, which was a big play. Had a few nice chunk plays there through the air. Good to see Boyd getting involved. You have to keep in mind they are still without DeAndre Hopkins. You add him to that, and that can get really fun. Nick Vanette, a tight end that we all expect to make the 53-man roster, hasn't really done a lot this preseason, but he did today. Had 2 nice plays for the Titans on their first drive, and a lot of good to take away from that. Tyjae Spears, what are you thinking? Leaping into the air, trying to hurdle a guy in a preseason game, you lunatic. But Tyjae, I'm very excited for him. I remain excited for him. And I even some of these offensive linemen that got in later, like Daniel Brunskill. I think we're seeing some explosion from him that he was lacking even last year when he was here. I think he is such a quality backup depth guy for an offensive line. So I'm glad to have him. Brian Callahan, obviously in terms of play calling, probably keeping his cards close to the vest, as anyone would, especially a first-time head coach who people are wondering what his offense is really going to look like. We see little hints here and there, but ultimately I feel like he's keeping his cards close to the vest. They did try to run that reverse with Jaquan Jackson. Will Levis is a lead blocker, and you knew Will probably wanted to try to block 3 guys at once, but he did the smart thing. And we want to see Will stop taking those crazy hits. So that's a good thing. Defensively, T'Vondre Sweat, what a relief to see him making noise. In the first possession, when the defense was in there, T'Vondre Sweat getting into the backfield, blowing up plays similar to what we've been hearing about from practice and training camp. So it was good to see T'Vondre Sweat making that kind of noise, again, without Jeffrey Simmons in there, without Harold Landry in there, without Arden Key. So he was really the only starting defensive lineman on that defensive front in the game, and he was blowing up guys, and that's what we want to see. That's what we're going to need to see from him. I'm a little worried about the inside linebacker position because while we have had some standouts, Chance Campbell got hurt today. I don't know the extent. I know it's something to do with his knee, and he was very frustrated on the sideline. He threw his helmet. So I just hope that that's not anything too serious because he had such a great preseason and he was going to be in the rotation. So we'll see. And then Otis Reese who people were thinking would be in the rotation was a healthy scratch today, or was he? I've seen some people say he was healthy scratch. I've seen some people say that he was injured and that's why he didn't play. But if something's wrong with both of those guys, that would not be good for the linebacker depth. Even though they're not starters, they would be in the rotation. Still hard to get a good gauge on the secondary with no Sneed, no Awuzie in there, no Quandre Diggs, I don't believe. Without those guys, it's very hard because, I mean, those are going to be starters on the defense. And who knows what could happen. I mean, there are trade rumors of other teams trying to get rid of guys. We're going to see all sorts of stuff like that. So who knows who the Titans could pick up over these next couple of days. Malik Willis played most of the second half, had a nice, obviously he's got a connection with Bryce Oliver. And Bryce Oliver, that's another name. I don't think he's going to make the roster, but I would sure like to keep him around if we can, because he's shown a lot of promise as a young receiver. And it's ironic because the last couple of years with a guy like Bryce Oliver, you would probably be speculating that they would put him on the roster because we were so weak at wide receiver. But now we have so many guys that he's just not going to make it. But he and Malik Willis clearly have a connection, and Malik did. I will say this: I think it's the best that Malik Willis has ever looked in the NFL this preseason. I think that Malik looks more poised, looks calmer. I know he's in there with second and third string, but he's looked good, and I thought today, they went down there and won the game at the end. And on fourth down with the game on the line, he threw a touchdown pass to Bryce Oliver. Hey, what more do you want from the guy? So I just don't think he's going to make the 53-man. I think there are other things that would serve the team better than to take three quarterbacks. He's not jumping Mason Rudolph. Mason Rudolph, who I thought showed good pocket presence today as well. I want to give him a shout out. I thought he played well. Thought he had really played well in the entire preseason. But I don't think Malik's going to make it. In terms of some of those other roster positions, David Martin Robinson, tight end. His fan club is just growing by the day. There are Hassan Haskins, Julius Chestnut, Jabari Small, we'll throw his name in there. How many wide receivers are we taking? These are the questions you're going to hear asked. Who's going to make the cut on that defensive line, edge rush, defensive tackle? It's time for those kinds of conversations, because the next time the Tennessee Titans take the field, it's going to be week 1 at Chicago, and it's going to count. It's going to count toward the record. So we're going to be talking more about this on Two Tone Talk tomorrow afternoon at 1 Eastern, noon Central, going more in depth, and I'm going to be making my predictions on who is going to fill that 53-man roster for the Titans. I also have to give a shout out to Odukoya, because that dude, we almost got kick sixed, and that dude made a tremendous effort play to chase that guy down and run him out of bounds at about the 3-yard line. And it ended up winning the game because we won by 3. So what a play by him. I don't think he's going to make the roster, but what a tremendous effort play by him. Wow. A lot to take away from today. No need to get too over the top about it, because it is preseason football and we all know how that goes, but a lot to be pleased with from the Tennessee Titans today. They did what they should have done, and it was good to see the offense clicking the way they were because of the struggles that we had kind of heard this week in practice. I will see you tomorrow on the Two Tone Talk by God pod. Tighten up, everybody.